Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can take your xTool Apparel printer to create DTF transfer kits that you can sell to customers that they can press onto blanks themselves. Now there's two ways you can do these kits. You can do just the transfers themselves, or you can do a kit where you also include some blank items for the customers like t-shirts, tote bags, and zipper pouches. And the focus for this is going to be on smaller transfers that they can press using a household iron because a lot of people don't have heat presses. So let's start by prepping the artwork in the xTool software. So I've opened up the xTool Studio software, which is the program where you set up all your files for both the xTool Apparel printer, but also their laser engravers. On the left-hand side, we have some tools. You can go to the xTool homepage using the home button up here. There is a menu here. Save, upload to MySpace, that's the cloud save. And then there's import, which is what we're going to use to import images. I'm going to make a pack using the froggy art. I'm not going to use all the images you see here, but I do have quite a bit prepped here. Before I get to that, I just want to show a few more things. So underneath that, there's a text tool where you can write things. Bailey! And then using the bar at the top, you can change the attributes of that item. So you could change the font, the size, what the fill is, the stroke, which is the outline around it, all kinds of stuff. Underneath that is a shape tool, which would actually be very handy for these kits because you could create little shapes to add to the kit. So there's a star, and if you hold down Shift, it will maintain the ratio of the shape. You can change the fill color, stroke, all kinds of stuff again. You can even edit the points on this because it is vector, so you could round out the corners, for example. You can just grab the points and move them. Ooh, can make your own little star. So that could come in handy for this project. I already have stars, so I don't need that. Then below the shape tool, we have elements. There are all kinds of graphics in here. Christmas candy cane. Ooh, these label shapes could come in handy. Even little decorative elements, like this line with a heart in the middle. Below that are templates you could edit. There's even existing projects. Below that, we have some built-in applications, grid array, measurements, smart nesting, so on and so forth. There's AI generation, which I will not be using. And then underneath that is MySpace, where all your files are. So I don't have any individual assets saved, but I do have some projects with some of my DTF transfers. Let's go to the button I use the most, the plus sign, which is import. When you do it this way, you cannot select multiples at a time. You can only bring in one asset at a time. But if we go down to the bottom button, under assets, I can bulk upload. So first I'm going to grab all the froggies. I'm holding down the control button to grab the ones I want. Or if you want to grab a whole section, hold down Shift to grab a big chunk. Okay, my froggies are selected. Clicking open. Then I can click on one. It will load into the program and I can scale it down. Now I want these to fit under a standard household iron, so I don't want them to be too long. I can use the grid along the side to see how big the frogs are. And the design can't go in the first 0.3 of an inch on the left and the right hand side, so you get about 13.4 inches of width. And the graphic can be up to 18 inches long. So I'm going to maybe try to fill out the full sheet for this. A feature I like is grabbing multiple items and then aligning them. So for example, you could align them all at the top. Now this doesn't look like it's aligned at the top because another thing is that if you have transparent areas around an item, it puts the bounding box around the transparency. So keep that in mind because that transparency cannot overhang into the gray areas on the edge. It has to stay fully within. So you need to make sure all your items are tightly cropped. Okay, I fixed my frog. This is the new one with the tighter cropping. This was the old one with too much empty space. Now to arrange everything. And you could also just do this in photo editing software like Photoshop, but I just wanted to show that it is possible to arrange everything here in the software. Now for these yellow frogs, I don't want them all facing the same direction. Plus this yellow frog and green frog are the same and are facing the same direction. So I'm going to flip one of these yellow frogs. At the top, I'm going to click on reflect horizontally, and then he's facing the other way. Also, just below my webcam here, you have some controls for undo, for moving around, like if you hit hand, you can pan, and there's zoom, but an easier way to do it is to pan, just hold down the space bar and then click and drag with your mouse. It's very convenient. And if you want to zoom in and out, you can hit Control plus and Control minus on your keyboard. Makes it a little easier to maneuver. Okay, this is the tentative design. I might have to make some tweaks, but I arranged everything with the intent of cutting out the strips to be 5 by 7 inches or smaller, because I'm trying to keep in mind the packaging for this. I'm not individually cutting out each little piece, but I do want to cut them down to smaller sheets to fit into smaller envelopes. So the purple frogs up here would be one section, and then this is one section, then these frogs, and then orange and green. Then there's all the paint blobs is one section, then froggy palette, and then there's a skinny strip at the bottom, which is not going to be 5 inches tall, but just filling the space. Why not? I wanted to add some smaller frogs in there. I wanted to add some stars. So I managed to fit everything I wanted onto the sheet. And I clicked Save to Upload to Cloud, which allowed me to name the file. You can also, at the top here, right-click, rename, enter the name. You can save locally to your computer and or to the cloud. Now for print settings, over on the right-hand side, I'm going to click Adjust. And for precision DPI, it's set to standard. I'm going to switch it to ultra. I print everything at ultra, which is the highest quality. Feather percent, it defaults to 100, but I'm going to set it to super. Again, it just increases the quality. Then there's white ink reduction because it prints a color layer first, then the white on top, but you don't want those layers to be slightly misaligned and have the white showing. So you want to choke the white in. So that's what this reduction is. I'm going to try a 0.2 and see how that goes. For some of my larger graphics, I like a 0.3 reduction, but I'm going to try 0.2 because these are smaller. And that's all I'm changing for settings. Color ink is staying at 100, white at 75, and you can change the number of copies. I'm going to leave it at 1 for now because this is going to be the test print. And before I can hit print, I'm going to connect the printer. Click connect. It happens like instantly, at least for me on Ethernet, and it's going to run a cleaning. I'm also going to turn on the oven and my humidifier and the air purifier, which is back here. I always click maintenance and then print test image before I print anything, just to see if I need an additional nozzle cleaning. It's all looking really good, so I can print. I can close that window, hit print, and it will load up a screen that shows you the design flipped with the little rainbow strip on it. Now, I'm also going to click calculate here to see how much it's going to cost to print this. Okay, it's showing it'll be $1.62 Canadian. That's assuming these values here for color ink, white ink, and how much film. But that's super handy so you can determine what kind of a markup you want to put on these. Although there are other things going in the kit that will affect the price. That is just for the transfers themselves. All right, I'm hitting print. So here we have our printout. The 0.2 millimeter reduction wasn't quite enough. There was just a sliver of white showing at the top edge of everything. So I did change it to 0.3, which is my usual, and I reprinted it. But it looks great. I do like the idea of having some stars that are even smaller than this, so I might add one more star size. Let's try cutting it. If I could move some elements further away from the rainbow strip, it would be easier to cut. Then I should be able to cut this straight down the middle. And then into 4 sections. Oh, I should probably cut closer to the big frogs. I cannot have too much excess plastic on the edges, otherwise it's not going to fit. Because yeah, that's cutting it very close. So it would be up to the customer to cut this further. I just think it makes sense this way so they're not everywhere. Imagine a bunch of tiny little blobs of paint and stars everywhere. This makes it easier to manage. Now in terms of packaging it, here's what I would do in my case. It's going to vary depending on your shop, but I want it all to fit into a 5x7 sleeve. So what I would do is have a piece of chipboard in the back and then some parchment. Now, I don't know if I want to do just small pieces. I might just give a full-size sheet that is folded. This just gives us more options, having a bigger sheet. Chipboard, then parchment, then the transfers, and then a card on top that maybe on the front says, ooh, DTF transfer kit, like it's the cute side that says what it is. And then the back side would have the pressing instructions on it. And that goes on top, and everything is sandwiched between two pieces of card to protect it. And I would want that because I ship all kinds of other products like stationery, including heavy things, and I wouldn't want these transfers to get damaged. And I'm using a glassine sleeve just because it's more eco-friendly than the cello sleeves, but the cello sleeves do look amazing, let me say. Then sealing it with a piece of tape. So you can still see through to see the fancy card showing what the kit is. And I like that idea because giant stickers are very expensive and it's just not worth it. Especially if you want a different design for each kit. So that's why I would probably do it this way. It's not the fanciest, but it's an option, and it would look a little fancier in a cello sleeve. There are lots of different ways to pack flat items, so you choose how you want to go about that. Then let's say you were selling it as a kit with some blank items. You could place those in a box. For me personally, since I do sell a lot of additional items, I would probably get a lightweight, thinner box that fits inside my shipping boxes. If you're someone who's selling a bunch of one-off kits, you could just ship them directly in this. But what if someone orders more than one kit? That's why I think it's important to have the kit in its own box that goes into the shipping box. Just giving you a sample of how you could lay this out. I don't have any small tote bags right now, just big ones, so I'm not going to put one in here. But let's say there's two different pouch styles. I've got one here that's got a handle, gusset bottom, that's a possibility. And then just a regular flat zipper pouch. You can also do tea towels as long as they're not like a thick fuzzy one with a pile. It'd have to be something flat like linen. You could do a pillow cover. Hats might be a little bit tricky because they're not flat. But any fabric that's iron safe technically would work. Now in this case I probably wouldn't need this card, so I can get rid of that. You could leave it like this with your fancy card in the front, or fancy card comes out and the backing card stays in. That way you have more stuff kind of sitting out as part of the kit. And one thing I would consider adding to a kit like this is a small travel size lint roller. That would be a nice way to complete the set. And then all they really need is the iron and scissors. And you can also use tissue paper if you like. A custom printed box, very expensive, probably not worth it. But again, if you really want, you could do a sticker or stamp here. Even just getting a sticker this size, it's a hassle. I had to order it in bulk, just to make it worth it. But if you print your own stickers, it might be a little more cost effective. You just have to put in the work to make them yourself. You could even just glue on a regular printed piece of paper. I only have this thick gusseted tote right now, but let's try putting it in there. I would probably use just a flat standard tote in a kit like this, because the gusset could cause problems for the person pressing it. Oh, isn't that cute? Fun little kit. And now that we have our kit, let's try using it. Let's bust out a clothing iron and see what we can make. I set it to the wool setting, which is a medium setting. I started whipping up an instruction sheet last night and realized it's going to take some time because I want to make it really cute. But also made me realize for the full-size kits, with the items in them, I think I would want a larger instruction sheet, like a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper printed on both sides, because I could get it professionally printed on like a glossy flyer type of paper and then just fold it in half to fit it in the box. That's probably what I would do. But I'd want to make lots of little illustrations and things, like draw out a little iron, draw a shirt with some stuff on it, you know. I don't know if I'd illustrate every step, but I would at least have some illustrations on it, right? So that's going to take some time. Something like this transfer will look great just like that on the pouch. Just press straight down. with firm pressure. Another thing I'd put on my instruction cards is a QR code that takes you to a video that shows you how to do everything. Like a video instruction, just because not everyone does well with written instructions. And I feel like you can give a more long-winded explanation with extra tips in video form. Firm pressure, 10 to 15 seconds should be enough. Okay, now I'm gonna let that cool off. On the canvas material, it's best to let it cool completely 100%. I thought it felt pretty cool to the touch, and I lifted a couple spots and some of it didn't go down. Now placing the parchment paper on it, give it some nice firm presses, as much body weight as possible. I do see some of the canvas texture showing through, which is good. That's what you want. And there it is. So cute! I can't decide what I want. Now let's press the sleeves while we're at it. Blobs are back. Time to press. Okay, here's the finished shirt. I didn't mark the center, so the chest is a little off center. But it's so cute with the sleeves. And then here was that zipper pouch. So I hope this gives you some ideas on ways you can make DTF transfer kits, whether it's just the transfers or including some blank items in the kit. It's a great extra way to make some income using the xTool Apparel printer, and it's fun for the customers. Everybody loves a good DIY activity, so it's a way to put the DTF in the customer's hands. And if you do a full sheet of transfers like I did, you can make so many different items from that. Like, I only used 2 big frogs and 2 little frogs. There's so many more left on this sheet. And that concludes this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So let's get into the numbers. I've got my spreadsheet here. I went through and calculated a bunch of different things to see how much money I'm saving with this thing. And I just want to say all dollar values in this video are Canadian dollars, and I'm also printing on the highest quality settings. So quality set to ultra, feather is set to super. So the first thing I did when putting together my spreadsheet